Atris had once believed history could be preserved by locking it away. In the blackened underlevels of the Jedi archives on Coruscant, where half the ceiling had fallen in and the memory vaults still hissed with dying power, she stood among shattered holocrons and tried to convince herself that silence was wisdom. Ash drifted through the broken dome above like gray snow. Somewhere far below, beyond the sealed doors and collapsed galleries, refugees murmured in the ruins of the capital world. The Republic still called itself alive, but its voice trembled now. The Jedi Order, once the pillar of 1,000 years, had become a whisper hunted through its own temples. Before her stood the remnants. Not masters, not knights, not even Padawans in the old sense. They were fragments pulled from wreckage and fear. A former soldier whose hands shook when he thought no one watched. A historian who had memorized more of the code than he had ever lived. A girl raised among blades and discipline who looked at compassion as if it were a language she had been forbidden to learn. A scarred technician with a remote hovering Loyalty's shoulder. A young bounty hunter whose courage wore the shape of defiance, and others quiet neighing was curt. The council was gone or scattered. Dantooine had been broken. Qatar was a graveyard. The old academies had become traps, tombs, or legends. Telos waited for her, sterile and hidden, with its cold rooms and obedient handmaidens, with its promise of control. Atris had made every preparation to withdraw there. She had gathered records, relics, forbidden histories, and the last clean teachings of an order collapsing beneath betrayals it could not name. She had planned to hide. Then one of the children asked her whether the Force had abandoned them. The question was not loud. It came from a boy no older than 12, with soot across his cheeks and a training braid cut raggedly from his hair. His master had died, buying him time to escape a Sith assassin whose face he had never seen. He held a cracked wooden training saber in both hands, not as a weapon, but as proof that he had once belonged somewhere. Atris looked at him and felt, with terrible clarity, the shape of the future she had chosen. A hidden chamber on Telos. Locked archives. Watchful servants. Years spent guarding wisdom until wisdom became possession. Years spent condemning those who acted, because action had led to war. Years spent nursing fury beneath the mask of duty. Years spent waiting for an exile to return so judgment could be spoken. She saw that path as if the Force had placed a mirror before her. And in that mirror, she did not see a guardian of the light. She saw a woman alone with the dead. Atris closed her eyes. The archive fires snapped softly. Beyond the broken walls, Coruscant's night burned red from distant bombardments and failing power grids. The boy waited. So did the others. Their fear gathered around her, raw and open, and beneath it she sensed something worse than fear. Expectation. They still believed someone would tell them what to do. Atris had built her life around law, discipline, memory, restraint. She had believed the Order's failure came from passion unleashed, Rivan marching to war, Malak falling to conquest, the exile choosing soldiers over counsel, compassion over obedience, battle over meditation. She had judged them all. She had judged with the certainty of one who remained behind and called survival purity. But these children did not need judgment. They needed a teacher. "The Force has not abandoned you," Atris said. Her voice surprised her. It did not carry the cold precision she had used before the Council. It was lower, rougher, stripped by smoke and grief. The Force does not abandon. It binds, reveals, warns, and waits. We are the ones who turn away. We are the ones who mistake fear for caution and silence for peace. The boy's grip loosened on the training saber. Atris looked over the assembled survivors. "I was meant to leave this world tonight. I was meant to take what remains of our knowledge and hide it where the Sith could not reach it." "Nay." A young woman near the back flinched at the word Sith. Atris saw it. Once, she might have corrected the weakness. Now she named it. "You are afraid," she said. "Good. Fear tells you that life still matters. But it must not be allowed to rule you. The old order taught serenity, yet too often we used serenity as a wall. We taught detachment, yet too often we detached from suffering. We taught obedience, yet too often we mistook obedience for wisdom. The words seemed to wound the room. Some stared at her as if she had profaned a sacred thing. Perhaps she had. Perhaps sacred things needed to bleed before they could live again. Atris stepped down from the broken archive dais. Shards of transparent steel cracked beneath her boots. "I will not hide on Telos," she said. "Not while the future stands before me, asking whether it has been abandoned." A murmur passed through them, uncertain and fragile. "I will train you," Atris continued. "Not as the Council trained us. Not as generals trained soldiers. Not as Sith trained slaves. You will learn the code, but you will also learn why words fail. You will study discipline, but never at the cost of mercy. You will understand war, but not worship it. You will face the darkness in the galaxy, and then you will face the darkness in yourselves. I will not promise safety. I will not promise victory. I will promise only this: you will not be left alone." "Men?" The boy lowered his head. The training saber dipped. For the first time since the fires began, someone wept. Atris had heard grief before. She had heard it in council chambers, in casualty reports, in the hollow voices of knights returning from the Mandalorian wars with their spirits carved open. Yet this sound pierced her differently. It was not accusation. It was release. That night, beneath the broken dome of the archives, Atris lit a single blue blade. Its light filled the ruined chamber, catching on dust, tears, and the cracked faces of dead masters carved in stone. One by one, the survivors knelt, not in worship, not in surrender, but in readiness. Atris raised the saber between them and the dark. "The Jedi are not ended," she said, "but they must be changed." Far away, in the blind places between stars, something ancient listened. Krya felt the tremor and smiled without warmth. Darth Nihilus, hungering in the emptiness, turned his ruined will toward the sound. Darth Sion opened eyes that pain had never allowed to close. And somewhere beyond the known routes, Mitra Surik, the Jedi exile, woke from a dream of ashes and heard a voice she had once despised, speaking words he had never expected to hear. The future had shifted. Not gently, not safely, but it had shifted. The refuge was not on Telos. That alone told Mitra Surik the galaxy had gone wrong in an unfamiliar way. She found them in the carcass of the Republic cruiser Ardent Vigil, a ship thought lost at Malakor's edge, now hidden inside the storm shadow of a dead moon beyond the Perlemian routes. Its engines would never burn again. Its hull had been split by old warfire and sealed with scavenged durasteel. Its hangars had become training courts. Its command deck had become a council chamber without thrones. Its meditation halls were converted cargo bays, where the hum of failing generators mingled with the murmured recitation of young voices, learning not only how to touch the Force, but how to survive touching it. Mitra entered through the lower airlock with Atten ran behind her, one hand near his blaster, and his smile sharpened into the kind of careless grin he wore when fear came too close. "Nice place," Atten muttered. "Nothing says rebirth of the Jedi like hiding in a dead ship full of ghosts." Bao-Dur stepped through after him, his mechanical arm flexing as he studied the welded seams and patched conduits. His remote chirped uneasily near his shoulder. "It's defensible," Bao-Dur said. "Ugly, but defensible." Atten glanced at him. "That your professional opinion?" "Yes, General." Mitra did not answer either of them. The word general still carried weight she had never learned how to set down. It followed her through hangars and battlefields, through exile and silence, through every life she had taken and every life that had followed her, because she could not bear to stop caring. She felt the refuge before she saw its heart. The Force moved strangely here. Not cleanly, not like the old temples where every stone had been polished by centuries of meditation. This place was jagged, wounded, living. Fear, discipline, grief, hope, anger, tenderness. all of it braided together in a current that should have been chaotic, yet somehow held, not suppressed, not denied, held. That was what unsettled her. Atris had always suppressed. The inner hangar doors opened. Atris stood beyond them in white robes, her hair bound severely, her gaze as pale and cutting as Mitra remembered. Yet the woman before her was not the figure Mitra had carried in memory, not merely the judge of the council chamber, not the cold historian who had watched her cast out, not the keeper of a righteousness too brittle to bend. This Atris looked tired, not weakened, tempered. Around her stood students, not servants, not handmaidens arranged in obedient silence, but students of different ages, species, and scars. Some held training sabers. Some wore patched Republic armor. Some had the haunted stillness of refugees. Others watched Mitra as if she were both legend and warning. Near Atris's right side stood Michael, older than the boy Mitra barely remembered from the enclave, his face earnest but no longer naive. He held a worn codex against his chest, fingers tucked between pages marked in 3 colors. To Atris's left stood Brianna, the last of the handmaidens, clad in white armor, her posture disciplined but her eyes alive with questions no oath had fully silenced. Mitra stopped several paces away. Atris did not bow. Neither did Mitra. For a long moment the dead cruiser seemed to hold its breath. At last, Atris said. Aten leaned closer to Baldur. That sounded friendly. Baldur said nothing, which was somehow worse. Mitra looked from the students to Atris. I expected Telos. I know. Right. You were gathering Jedi teachings there. I was gathering them to hide, Atris said. Then I chose to use them. The words struck harder than accusation would have. Mitra studied her. Why? Atris's face tightened. Once, pride would have answered first. Now it passed through her like pain and did not rule her. Because hiding knowledge from those who need it is not preservation, Atris said. It is fear dressed in virtue. Aten's brows lifted. Didn't see that coming. Atris's gaze flicked to him. You are Aten Rand. The grin vanished from his face so quickly it might never have existed. Mitra felt the sudden spike inside him. Old terror, old guilt, old reflex. His mind became a sabacc table overturned, cards scattering into shadow. Atris did not press. That, more than anything, told Mitra this woman had changed. I know what you were, Atris said. I care more what you become. Aten swallowed. That's supposed to make me feel better? No, Atris replied. Only responsible. A sound moved among the students. Not laughter exactly, but something close enough to life that the cold hangar warmed by a degree. Michael stepped forward and bowed to Mitra. I thought I would never see you again. Mitra regarded him with a sorrow she had no right to feel. You were a child on Dantooine, and you were the Jedi I wanted to follow. Following me led many to their deaths. His expression did not break. Not following you did the same. The silence after that was not empty. Brianna stepped forward next. Atris said you would come. Mitra turned to her. Did she? She said the Force gathers wounds before storms. Aten made a quiet sound. Cheery school motto. Atris ignored him. The Sith are hunting what remains of us. They are not striking as armies now. They are moving as hunger, as murder, as silence. I have trained these students as best I can, but they need something I cannot give them. Gesi. Done. Mitra's jaw tightened. And what is that? Atris looked directly at her. The truth of war? The hangar seemed colder then. Mitra remembered Malachor Vithith, the sky tearing, gravity screaming, ships folding into fire, the mass shadow generator awakening like an iron god beneath Baldur's command. She remembered the Mandalorians dying, Republic soldiers dying, Jedi dying. She remembered the moment the Force became unbearable, so vast with death that she severed herself from it to survive. You don't want that truth, Mitra said. No, Atris answered. But they need it, and so do I. Mitra nearly laughed. There was no humor in it. You want me to train Jedi? I want you to help me prevent them from becoming what we became. At war. Certain. That word found its mark. Mitra looked again at the students. Their faces held the galaxy's ruin in miniature. Some admired her. Some feared her. Some hated her for returning when their own masters had not. All of them were waiting for something she had never believed she possessed. A way forward. Bowder's voice came quietly from behind her. General. She turned. He nodded once, not as soldier to commander, but as friend to friend. His expression carried Malachor too. It always had. Yet beneath it was a question. If their wound could teach, did they have the right to refuse? Aten looked away, pretending not to care. Mitra faced Atris again. I won't rebuild the old order for you. I am not asking you to. I won't teach children to become soldiers. Nor will I. If you lie to them, I leave. If I lie to them, Atris said, you should. Their eyes met, and for the first time in all the years between judgment and exile, Mitra felt something pass between them that was not hatred. It was not forgiveness. Not yet. But perhaps it was the first stone in a bridge. What do they call this place? Mitra asked. Michael answered before Atris could. The lantern. Aten stared at him. Seriously? Brianna's mouth almost curved. Because it is hidden in darkness, not surrendered to it. Aten sighed. Of course it is. Mitra looked past them deeper into the ship, where young Force sensitives trained among welded bulkheads and salvaged banners. She sensed their fear, their hope, their dangerous hunger to be told they mattered. She knew that hunger. It had once led Revan to war. It had led Mitra to follow. It had led Atris to judge from a distance. Perhaps now it could lead somewhere else. Show me your students, Mitra said. Atris stepped aside. The doors opened wider, and the exile entered the school of the lost Jedi. Atris taught structure. Mitra taught consequence. Between them, the lost Jedi learned that neither was enough alone. At dawn cycle, though no true dawn reached the dead moon's shadow, Atris gathered the students in the forward hangar where banners of ruined worlds hung from the rafters. Dantooine, Qatar, Sirocco, De Shiundai, Terrace, worlds scarred by war, betrayal, bombardment, or silence. She made them recite the code, but never as children chanting away fear. Each line was opened like a wound. There is no emotion, there is peace. What does it mean? Atris asked. A Rhodian girl answered first. That we must not feel. Atris's eyes hardened, but not with anger. No. That mistake helped break us. Peace is not the absence of feeling. It is the mastery of reaction. Emotion is weather. Peace is the hand that does not release the helm during a storm. There is no ignorance. There is knowledge. Michael would step forward then with scrolls and holorecords, showing them victories that had concealed failures, failures that had concealed warnings, histories edited by the proud and preserved by the ashamed. He taught them that knowledge was not a weapon unless carried without humility, and that ignorance could wear the robes of a master. There is no passion, there is serenity. Mitra hated that line most. Atris knew it, so she made Mitra teach it. The first time, Mitra stood before the students for nearly a minute without speaking. Aten leaned against a crate nearby, arms folded, watching her with the sharp unease of a man who had survived by reading rooms before they killed him. Bao-Dur repaired a training emitter while pretending not to listen. Brianna stood among the students, chin raised, measuring the exile as if every word might become a weapon. "Passion saved lives in the Mandalorian Wars," Mitra said at last. "Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. Compassion is a passion when it moves you to act. Courage is a passion when fear tells you to kneel. Loyalty is a passion when the galaxy asks you to abandon those who trust you." Atris watched from the edge of the court, expression unreadable. Mitra continued, "But passion also blinds. I followed Revan because I believed the council was too slow, too distant, too afraid. I still believe they were. That does not mean every choice we made was right. Right motives can carry you to terrible places if you stop questioning the road. Nunchi, Ganbian so. Ganaisha." A young man with a burn scar across his throat raised a hand. "Would you do it again?" The question traveled through the court like a blade drawn quietly. Mitra looked at him. She could have given them a lesson. She gave them truth. "I don't know." Some of the students shifted, disappointed. "That is not weakness," Atris said from the shadows. All eyes turned to her. Atris stepped forward. "Certainty is not the same as wisdom. Beware any teacher who offers you clean answers about war. Beware any leader who does not grieve what victory costs." "Nah. Nice. No." Mitra looked at her then, surprised despite herself. Atris met her gaze only briefly before turning back to the students. "You will learn to fight because the galaxy may demand it. You will learn when not to fight because the Force demands that too." The training changed after that. Adin Rand resisted openly. He made jokes during meditation, cheated during footwork drills, and treated every lesson like a card game he intended to lose badly enough that no one would invite him back. Atris saw through it within a day. Mitra had seen through it sooner but had lacked the patience to corner him. Atris cornered him on the 5th night in the old munitions bay, where he sat alone beneath a flickering red lamp, turning a training saber hilt over in his hands as if expecting it to accuse him. "You know forms," Atris said. Atin did not look up. "I know how not to cut my own arm off. Low standard, but I'm proud. Maya, you know more than that. Careful. Keep complimenting me and people will talk." Atris stepped closer. "You were trained to kill Jedi." The hilt stopped turning. For a moment, the charming ruin of him fell away. What remained was colder. Older. A man with graves behind his eyes. "Does she know?" he asked. "Yes." His smile came back wrong. "Great. That explains the warm welcome. She also knows you are afraid that learning the Force means becoming the thing that made you useful to monsters." Atin surged to his feet. "You don't know anything about me. I know what guilt looks like when it disguises itself as contempt." He stared at her, breathing hard. Atris did not move. There had been a time when she would have condemned him with pleasure. A Jedi hunter in a Jedi refuge. A murderer hiding among the wounded. The old Atris would have seen justice in exposure. The new Atris saw a weapon trying to become a man. "You will train tomorrow," she said. "Or what? Or you will leave." He laughed once. "That's it. No prison. No trial. No righteous speech. If you remain, you choose responsibility. If you leave, you choose fear. I will not pretend I can force redemption into you." Adin looked toward the sealed door. Beyond it, Mitra was somewhere in the ship, speaking with Bao-Dur or walking alone with ghosts. His face shifted at the thought of her. Atris saw that too. "You care what she thinks," Atris said. His jaw worked. "Then become someone who can stand beside her without hiding." The next morning, Atin trained. Badly, loudly, bitterly, and with enough profanity to make Michael drop a stack of codices in embarrassment. But he trained. Bao-Dur was different. He did not resist instruction. He resisted peace. When Atris asked him to meditate, The Iridonian sat in perfect stillness, spine straight, breath measured, mind locked behind walls of discipline strong enough to impress even her. Yet the force around him trembled with machines, explosions, calculations, and one terrible command given at Malachor V. The mass shadow generator lived in him like a second skeleton. Atris did not ask Mitra to reach him. She went herself. She found him in the engineering deck, repairing a power coupling while his remote projected diagnostic light over the open panel. Sparks lit the tattoos on his face. "You avoid the deeper meditations," Atris said. Baldur tightened a conduit. "No, I don't. You sit for them. That is not the same." He gave a faint, tired smile. "You always this encouraging? I am told I have improved." He actually looked at her then. The remote chirp. Atris folded her hands inside her sleeves. "You built the weapon that ended Malachor." His expression emptied. "I gave the order," Mitra would have said. But Atris did not say that. She had come to understand that guilt was not divided like rations. Each survivor carried a full measure, whether or not reason permitted it. "I need you to teach them," Atris said. Baldur stared. "To build weapons. To understand that tools carry the shape of the hands that make them. To understand that intelligence without moral courage becomes obedience. To understand that saying, 'I built it,' is how engineers become executioners." His mechanical hand flexed. "That lesson has a price." "Yes," Atris said softly. "You have paid it. Do not waste the cost." So Baldur began teaching in the machine chapel, as Atten called it, where students learned to repair vaporators, rebuild shield emitters, dismantle mines, and sit beside humming engines until they understood how creation and destruction could differ by a single intention. Michael became the refuge's memory. He cataloged the archives Atris had saved, but under Mitra's influence he also cataloged contradictions. He wrote a treatise on the failures of the late council and then, trembling, brought it to Atris expecting rebuke. She read it in silence over 3 nights. On the 4th, she returned it with annotations, not condemnations. Questions. "You are too gentle with Master Vrook," she said. Michael blinked. "I thought you would say I was too harsh." "You confuse his arrogance with certainty. They were not always the same. Revise it." He smiled despite himself. Brianna became the blade Atris had never meant to forge. Their first duel drew half the refuge to the hangar rails. Brianna fought with Akani precision, every movement clean, economical, obedient to rhythm. Atris answered with Jedi restraint. White robes turned around white armor, blue training light against silver staff, footfalls echoing like drums in a castle hall. Atris disarmed her in 9 movements. Brianna struck Atris in the mouth on the 10th. The court froze. Atten whispered, "Well, I'm in love with this school." Brianna stepped back, horrified. "Mistress." Atris touched her split lip. Blood shone on her fingers. Then she smiled. It was small, fierce, almost young. "Again," Atris said. From then on, Brianna learned not merely to obey rhythm, but to break it. Slowly, painfully, the lantern became more than a refuge. It became an argument against extinction. Its students sparred beneath dead engines and meditated beside armor plates scarred by Mandalorian fire. They learned the names of worlds the Old Order had failed, and the names of people the Sith had devoured. They learned that mercy without strength could become helplessness, and strength without mercy could become tyranny. They learned to listen for the Force not as command, but as relationship. And above all, they learned that teachers could disagree. Atris and Mitra disagreed often. They disagreed about Revon, about the Council, about attachment, about whether the Jedi should serve the Republic openly or remain hidden until they understood what hunted them. Their arguments rang through the ship, cold at first, then hot, then strangely honest. Students lingered near corridors to listen until Brianna drove them away with a stare. Yet those arguments did more to heal the future than any sermon. For the first time, the lost Jedi saw authority challenged without hatred. They saw guilt answered without exile. They saw two women who had stood on opposite sides of judgment slowly, unwillingly, begin to build something neither could have built alone. But the Force does not gather light without drawing shadow. In the outer dark, Sith assassins began to disappear. Not die, disappear. Their masters heard their last thoughts. A dead cruiser, a woman